Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we're talking about firearms policy, firearms and politics, culture, media, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. Please take a moment, like and share the program, and encourage your friends to do the same. As you can see, we're still here at SHOT Show 2023, having a good time, talking with good friends. And I don't know that there is any more better friend to the gun owner in the gun rights community. Well, at least cool dude to hang out with, I will tell you that. Mr. Kevin Dixie of No Other Choice. Kevin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. How are you doing?
I am doing phenomenal. My voice may not sound like it, but that's because I'm spending a lot of good time talking to a lot of good folk.
Totally understand.
Excellent. Do me a favor. Start off, and well, first of all, you've been on the program before. In fact, I believe it's either our second or our third most popular video is the one we did a couple of years ago here when you came out with The Truth.
Yes.
Anyway, so you're no stranger to our audience, but just for those who are new to the audience, let them know who you are.
The short and sweet, my name is Kevin Dixie. Everybody calls me KD. I am, the boring part is I'm a firearms instructor. The more active part is I am a civil rights advocate and activist, which means that I actually talk about it and go out into the communities and do work to advocate for things. One of those civil rights is the Second Amendment. It's absolutely important, and then there are the other civil rights that I speak for my community directly, and then every other American. I consider myself an educator, and I go out and I talk to people about the gun. So one day you can catch me doing firearms training, which I believe I am a professional, and I strive to get better every day. And then the next day you can catch me talking about product reviews, how to build a better rifle. And then the next day I'm debating someone on the Second Amendment and why we shouldn't be supporting gun control. And then the next minute I am in schools feeding kids. The next minute I'm out, with kids in the community, teaching them de-escalation skills. And the next day I'm like praying with fathers to help them be better dads to kids. And the next day I could be, having a snow cone and petting puppies. To me, it's man, it's all about the gun is the freedom is the central right that we all have, but all the things around it is what I want to touch. So I believe in trying to inspire and build better human beings, protect those human beings, and then with the firearm allowing those human beings to protect themselves.
It's interesting you put it that way, because you are a person, as I see it, a person who's interested in helping build up the whole person.
Yeah.
And the firearm is just a tool that can be available for one particular need. Mm-hmm. And you want to make sure that should that need ever arise, that they are prepared to be able to utilize it in the most efficient and effective manner, but also to help avoid those situations, like you were talking about de-escalation.
Absolutely. It's an old cliche, but I think it's still relevant, man. It's the one in where you say you win every gunfight you're not in, right? Because nobody's really, you're going to have an extremist in every group of people. Nobody's really wanting to have that conflict. We don't want to, exchange gunfire with anyone. Nobody wants to do that. We want to just be free to protect it. Like when we look at our banks, for example, right? Banks make money. They have equity, right? And then they protect it with guns. They protect money, their values with guns. Same concept. As a human being, you have value. You're born with value. And if I can help you build equity into yourself, the more value you see, the more you go out and build, we're just protecting it. That's all we're doing. We're just protecting that equity in you. So I'm just here to help you see your investment. And then once you realize it, I don't have to sell you a gun. You'll want to protect it no different than the banks protect their stuff, the jewelry store, and whoever else. So get that equity in you and then protect the equity. That's all it is. That's why we don't want people depriving us of the right to protect who we are.
All right, I'm gonna ask you this question because I've asked this of a couple of other brothers and sisters who are in the industry. Mm-hmm. The data shows #1 cause of death for young black males is violence involving firearms. Mm-hmm. There are those in our community who believe that means that we ought to be supporting more gun control, greater restrictions on access to firearms, ammunition, or even the types of firearms. What's your perspective on that?
It's lazy. Here's why. So my program, Aiming for the Truth, where we try to get to the root issues that cause violence, right? It's a whole nother conversation what the program is, but I work and have been, I'm from that community you're talking about. So I know the gun's not the problem, right? So, and this is no offense to anyone in particular, because there are people that are opposite thinking to me that just are ignorant in the true sense of the word and don't know. But stop trying to tell me what my community needs and what the problem is, because you just don't know, right? When we are looking at the root issues of violence, we have a system. Your school systems, public school systems, primary source of income is tax revenue. Well, if I have a system that's making sure that people stay low income, then guess what? We can only tax the income you make. If we're taxing that income, that's the best education system you're gonna get. It's off these crumbs we can get off of you because you don't make much. We're putting these kids in a lose-lose situation. That's why we call it the school-to-prison pipeline system. That's why, because it's not truly educating these kids. So you want to talk to me about the gun being a problem? Well, what value, going back to value, is this kid seeing, right? What opportunities are you giving this child, right? You want to talk to me about, oh, it's violence. Sure it is, right? And we're doing a lot better, but when you broke up our households, well, what do you think is going to happen when there's not the male structure there to help guide the kid, right? So there's nothing wrong with a single mom doing her thing. And women, I love you to death. You're not us, right? You're just not us. It's like we're not you, right? So what happens when you have these young boys out here with no guidance, no direction, and that are hurting? You have to think about it. These environments can be painful, right? So if we send a young boy, young girl at the age of 18 years old to go over into PIC combat zone, and they can come back in 4 to 8 years with PTSD, then what happens to these kids that are living it for 22, 23 years? What's going on in their minds? When they don't have any, you want to balance it out. So, and another thing, the people that are screaming for gun control from the political level also don't take responsibility for the situations they've caused. You know, let's look at that. So when you talk about taking the fathers out of the household, the number one public figure that spoke of that publicly, not the only person that did it, that spoke about it publicly and praised it, was your current sitting president, right? So when you can systematically destroy a community by over-policing them, by not giving them resources, because if you're gonna give me, what was it, $13.5 billion, I believe it was, through the 94 crime bill, in prison systems, imagine if you would have gave me half of that in the education system instead, in the programs, right? Imagine if you would have gave me that. So it's a lazy thing.
The one thing I will say is, and I know this isn't the perception, but education on par across the spectrum receives a lot more funding than does the prison system, the corrections system. So that's the one thing that I got to address. But I mean, like, I'll give you an example. In California, it basically equates to, when you include K-12 through higher education, it's about 53 to 54% of the overall budget in the state of California. And now, the problem is the way in which it's grown has been more administrators instead of programs. That's where you're 100% right. They're doing more to build up their upper levels than they are to actually make sure that the kids are getting what they need.
Well, then you're not investing in the kids.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So it's the same problem. You can't. I'm paying, and I'm not mad at a professional making good money. Right. I never want that to be. You go to school, you get educated, you're good at something. But if you're paying a superintendent, like in my city, we're losing schools every day. So it's different in Missouri. They are not putting money into these schools. And it's dang sure not over 50% of our city budget. We are closing schools and turning them into condos, right? If we can even find a buyer for them. But if you're paying a superintendent, you know, I don't know, 150, 160 a year, which in the Midwest is pretty good money. If you're paying them 150, 160 a year, and you're paying a teacher 34, but suburb 15 minutes that direction, the teachers are making 58. Well, where do you think the teachers are going to go?
Yeah. Well, I think the number one thing that I always say is it's not a gun problem, because the gun is a tool, right? Absolutely. It's a tool that can be used for good. It can be used to protect, like you were talking about, but it's also a tool that can be used to cause harm. The question is in whose hands it is and how they are, in fact, going to wind up using that tool.
Well, you know, we have to think about it like this, man. Just think about wherever somebody comes from, whatever age. If they're misguided and hurt, they're probably going to do something reckless, right? Car, knife, gun, flamethrower, doesn't matter. One of my last childhood friends I lost him because somebody doused him with lighter fluid and set him on fire. It had nothing to do with a gun. It's if we're not addressing the human beings, which is why I'm glad to see the recent push for mental health in this country. Because if we're not addressing the human being, it doesn't matter what you give them. To go out blaming the gun is just a sexy thing to do. Let's just face facts, right? It's a sexy thing to do because you know it's a polarizing thing. People are going to gain political notoriety if they attack it. It's the sexy thing to do. That's why I said lazy. Because you're not dealing with the root issues that's causing the person to be violent. You're just saying, oh, get rid of the gun. Okay, so you get rid of the gun. All right, great. Now they're driving cars. Didn't we just see somebody who clearly was not okay drive a car through a parade? What did he kill, 6 people? Right? Yeah. That wasn't a gun problem. Right? And I'm pretty sure if he wanted a gun, he could have went and got one and did whatever he wanted to do, right? There's a black market. Right. The more gun control you try to pass, the bigger the black market gets, right? But he ran him over with a car, right? So we have to stop blaming the gun. And for people that are not from my areas, that are blaming the gun, here's the challenge. Take a moment to yourself. I want you to blame you. And I say blame you because you're throwing what you know is polarizing for your political party to gain more of that political notoriety, but you're not in my communities doing any of the work to see what's really wrong.
Right.
So blame yourself.
Well, exactly, because it's a lot easier to stand over here and blame them over there than to actually go in and discover what those root causes is, and then start to work on those root causes. I'll tell you, there's a program that I've seen instituted, and I'm not a big fan of the program in general, but what I do is it's an acknowledgement that it's a people issue, and that's where they're going out and they're bringing in and they're hiring people as, you know, people who they know to be either ex-gang members or who've been involved in violence to help kind of work within the community to try and decrease violence. And it actually in some places has shown to have an effect. But like I said, what I really like about it is the first time you're getting people to acknowledge that it is a people problem, not a firearms problem.
And you know what's interesting, man, and I've had this conversation before. Kudos to the adults who've made wrong decisions in their life. Maybe went and paid their debt to society. They come back and are trying to guide others to do better. I have no issue with that. But here's the thing. Here's one tool that they use against us. When you put that individual, went to prison for 10 years, is coming back, has a good heart, is trying to help people, do you really think that person's going to be speaking to these kids about proper gun ownership?
No.
They're going to be saying the exact opposite. Don't touch a gun. Do not touch a gun. Stay away from guns. Guns are bad. Because I've had to get at a lot of those brothers and be like, you made a mistake, we get it. I love the fact that you're here giving back. But just because you made that mistake, you can't misguide our kids to say that they now can't be trusted because you did the wrong thing, right? And so I love it, and then I challenge it because I understand that the people that are funding a lot of these programs put these individuals in place because they know they can't talk positively about firearms. Or they will look at someone like me, which they've done several times, and be like, oh, great. Oh, you're pro-gun? Oh, you actually want to work on the issues? Oh, you don't have that criminal record? I'm not saying I'm innocent, I just don't have a record, right? You don't have that criminal record, so I can't show this 17-year-old kid that he can be articulate, well-spoken, challenge authority, own a gun, care about his family, not cry victim, and be sustainable and effective and build his own family and stand up and have the right to protect them. I don't want more educated, strong men. I want more fearful idiots, right, out in the communities, not educated, strong men that want to protect their families. So the way that they're spinning it, we'll put the programs there, and they do have a lot of great effects.
Right.
But it also has the benefit to a lot of the people that are actually funding them to say, but we're still going to keep you restricted and we're still going to keep you under our thumb.
Kevin, it's always a good conversation. Let the folks know how they can follow your work.
On your social media platforms, it's The Real NOC for No Other Choice. The Real NOC on all your favorite social media platforms. You can also check us out as our website, nootherchoice.com. Once again, that's nootherchoice.com. Reach out, talk. If you want to email us, info@nootherchoice.com. Whatever question you got, it could be about a gun, it could be about where do I go get resources for my family. Whatever you need, let us know.
Sir, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the program. The conversation's always good.
Oh, absolutely.
And appreciate the work you do in the community, bro.
No, thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kevin Dixie. All right, well, hey, that's another one in the can. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're still going to be doing more interviews. We still got a whole rest of the day, a whole rest of the SHOT Show to go. So do us a favor. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Encourage your friends to do the same, and we will be seeing you again soon, probably in the next half hour. Anyway, you guys take care. We'll talk to you again real soon.